Coverage you can count on from your good neighbor station. This is KGNS News at 6.
Good evening and thanks for watching KGNS News at 6. I'm Justin Early.
And I'm Ann Hutera. Donald Trump is back on an airplane after a quick trip to Laredo.
KGNS News reporter Christian von Preissing joins us now live at the airport to tell us about this campaign stop. Christian.
Well, and Justin, Trump made his point to national media by coming here to Laredo with immigration and border security on his mind. He arrived here at 1 o'clock and was greeted by representatives, the mayor and the Laredo city manager, as well as council members of the city of Laredo. A number of national press members that made it down here to Laredo was also really astounding. From the airport, Trump went over to the World Trade Bridge and answered a few questions at a press conference, and then he talked to the media about his campaign and his policy opinions.
In certain sections, you have to have a wall, absolutely. And by the way, the wall will save you a tremendous amount of money, but you absolutely, there are areas that you have to have the wall.
Trump also made points about working to make sure that all immigration that happens here is legal. He kept rejecting comments that he has any sort of bias towards Hispanic or Mexican people. And at the press conference, Trump also told members of the press about a recent Nevada poll that shows him leading, including among Hispanics. And it's the reason why he thinks that he's going to get the Republican nomination. Reporting live from the Laredo International Airport, Christian von Preissing, KGNS News.
Okay, Christian, and Trump left on his private jet emblazoned with Trump on the side from the Laredo airport after cutting an interview short at Paseo Real, where he went to address law enforcement.
Well, this morning, things with Trump's tour changed. The local Border Patrol Council backed out of the event with Donald Trump. In a statement released on their Twitter and website, they say, after careful consideration of all the factors involved in this event and communicating with members of the National Border Patrol Council, they've decided to pull out of all events involving Donald Trump. They also said their purpose is to support and protect the men and women who protect the border. The statement continues that their intention to meet with Mr. Trump was to provide a boots-on-the-ground perspective, not only for Trump, but the media that would be in attendance at this event. They also said an endorsement was never discussed for any presidential candidate and that the Border Patrol Council does not endorse candidates for any political office. We spoke to one local LULAC Council member who tells us the local Border Patrol union did not follow protocol.
Obviously, he took it upon himself, and the rest of the membership came forth, or the hierarchy, and advised him that Border Patrols do not get involved in politics. They do not endorse candidates. They can. Their position is to do their job and secure our border.
Well, you can see the Border Patrol Council statement on our website at KGNS.TV. Just click on the Extras tab.
Laredo police had just 2 or 3 days notice after an official confirmation that Trump was coming. The police department provided patrol officers to escort the Republican presidential candidate after he got off the plane and traveled to 2 other spots. Police were working to react to any possibilities as Trump's arrival was not a city-planned or sponsored event. Police kept an eye out for anyone who might have been offended by the candidate and wanted to do him harm.
We need to rise to the occasion and, obviously voice our opinion about the disagreement that we have with him and his position, if that's your choice. But we obviously welcome anybody to come and practice their constitutional rights to come and protest.
Police said they were expecting to see a lot of people from out of town. Trump left Laredo without any incident.
Laredo city leaders were on hand to greet the Republican presidential candidate. Greeting him inside the plane were Mayor Pete Saenz and City Manager Jesus Olivares. On the ground, Councilman Alex Perez and Juan Narvaez were among those who were there for his arrival.
Granted, I'm sure we have some bad people here, but not to the degree that he's espousing or advocating. We have good, decent people. Laredo, Texas is composed of 96% Hispanic population, primarily of Spanish and Mexican descent. So, we have good, hard-working people here. Granted, we may have some undocumented folks here, but this is why it's so essential that we work on a comprehensive immigration reform bill of some sort, and the sooner the better.
Well, a photo opportunity took place shortly after with officials. Law enforcement agencies were also on hand to secure that area.
It was not all warm welcomes as the GOP presidential candidate landed in Laredo today.
KGNS reporter Renee Santos spent the afternoon alongside protesters and supporters as they made their voices heard. Renee.
Well, people began protesting nearly 3 hours before Donald Trump's arrival, and as soon as his plane landed, that mood wasn't any different. Damn Trump! Damn Trump! Hours before Donald Trump's arrival, people began protesting.
What he said. He has not been in office. No.
Trump stumped thousands of Americans with words that people in the Gateway City are calling verbal shots fired.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
We have to give dignity to everyone. Every time there is a wave of a new immigrant.
I am a captain in the military.
People not supporting Trump weren't afraid to jump into action, expressing their feelings about the Republican presidential candidate.
I thought he was a cultured man, and how can he disenfranchise just over 50% of the population?
But others weren't offended. In fact, Karina Villalba is asking people to look into the issues Trump is addressing.
He's referring to illegal immigration coming through the Mexican border. And in fact, I mean, being here illegally is a crime itself, and it's a word that many people get offended by.
I don't think that people understand the danger that you're under and the talent that you have.
Border Patrol agents protect the U.S.-Mexican border every day, and the dangers they face concern Villalba.
A lot of these illegal immigrants are in fact criminals or fugitives from, their countries of origin. And meanwhile, our men and women are working to defend our border, and they have to deal with this every day.
But people against Trump question his integrity, saying this country was founded on immigration, even if it was done illegally.
We gave Americans permission to come to Texas, and there were a lot of illegal Americans that settled our land. This is our country, and we're going to be here, and we welcome all immigrants because this is the land of opportunity. That's what we were built on.
Now, Trump says he doesn't have a problem with immigration. He has a problem when it happens illegally. The one thing that both sides can agree on is the amount of hard work it takes for law enforcement and Border Patrol agents to protect this city. Reporting live from the Laredo International Airport, Renee Santos, KGNS News.
All right, Renee, and Trump's visit in Laredo lasted about 2.5 hours. Well, the arrival of billionaire Donald Trump to Laredo proved to be controversial on the other side of our border as well. This group of protesters were stationed halfway at International Bridge 1 with signs and banners. Some read, "Donald Trump is the enemy of Mexico and immigrants are not criminals."
What he's doing is nothing but provoking the Mexican people, and we declare him as public enemy number one.
Well, the rally continued until Trump's visit to the border was over.
Well, Trump has mentioned he would consider running for president as an independent candidate. That would be if he felt Republican Party officials didn't support him. But during his brief visit today, Trump sounded confident he would represent the GOP in the general election.
I want to run as a Republican. I think I'll get the nomination. We'll see soon enough, but I think I'll get the nomination. The best way to win is for me to get the nomination and run probably against Hillary. Hillary is the worst, look, easily. She's the worst Secretary of State in the history of our country. She's going to be beaten, and I'm the one to beat her.
Trump told the Hill newspaper Wednesday that the Republican National Committee has not been supportive of his candidacy as a Republican. Network news crews and others from across the state converged upon Laredo to cover the Trump visit. Several news crews have been in Laredo since we first brought you news of the arrival Tuesday night. Trump's controversial comments about Mexican immigrants being criminals and rapists have taken the political spotlight across the country for his run for that Republican nomination. Well, Donald Trump's visit to the Gateway City actually lasted less than 3 hours. The last stop during the visit was a press conference at Paseo Real.
KGNS reporter Yoslin Gallardo was at the event and has more on Trump's final words to his supporters and Laredo.
Donald Trump ended his last press conference after less than 4 minutes after receiving a question he wasn't too happy about. Donald Trump entered the press conference room with a cap he wore during his day in Laredo that read, "Make America Great Again."
People realize the problem we have in this country with illegal immigration, and it's going to be solved, it's going to be fixed.
Trump thanked Laredo Border Patrol and law enforcement.
They're incredible men and women, and they just want to do their job. And they're really, really good at the job, but they're not allowed to do it in many cases.
He addressed the room full of media and supporters. And despite his recent controversial comments about Mexican immigrants being criminals and rapists, Trump says he has a strong presence in the Hispanic community.
Such a great relationship with the Hispanics. I'm leading in the poll by a landslide with the Hispanics, which is a great honor for me.
The press conference ended shortly after a reporter continued to ask Trump about those remarks.
I want to thank you. No, you're finished.
Local supporters were at the conference and followed him to the airport for his send-off. Jorge Maldonado says he's satisfied with Trump's visit.
Did come down, shows how much the border security means to him as not just as a person, but as a campaign candidate.
And his supporters believe his visit was successful. Trump was in Laredo for a little more than 2 hours. A lot of the reporters asked if that was enough time. None of those questions were answered.
So, Yoselin, what did his supporters say about the length of his visit today?
They told me that they understand that 2 hours isn't enough to experience Laredo as a whole, but they appreciate his effort for coming out here and checking out the border. Reporting live, Yoselin Gallardo, KGNS News.
Well, a lot of people couldn't make it out to see Donald Trump in an effort to show their support or protest, and they took to the social networks.
And many of you expressed yourselves at the KGNS Facebook page.
That's right. Thousands of comments. Here are a few of them. Ileana says nobody should have gone. He's not important, nor does he offer anything good for the country.
And Sandra says, I like the guy. As a matter of fact, I do agree with him. You want to live here? You can if you enter legally and not just because you decided to enter a country without permission.
Well, several politicians took to social media today criticizing the city of Laredo for the welcoming given to Trump. Julian Castro, a congressman from San Antonio, went on Twitter this afternoon and addressed Mayor Pete Saenz. He said, Donald Trump just used you and the other council members to make him look good. Embarrassing for South Texas and Hispanics. And Laredo City Councilman Roque Vela Jr. posted on Facebook his disappointment in today's events. He says, it's disappointing how we came off with this whole Donald Trump fiasco. Politically speaking, we sent a message to the country like we somehow agree with his views on immigration. He goes on to say, when I left City Hall today, I was under the impression that the city was going to have little or no involvement in this fiasco.
And in our KGNS web poll, we're asking if Donald Trump's visit to Laredo changed your opinion on him. At last check, 13% of you do see him in a different light, but the majority, 87%, have not changed their minds about the real estate tycoon.